On September 18th, 2023, we lost one of the kindest people I've ever known. His name was Beckam, otherwise known as Soup online. Now, Beckam, as long as he was there, you would have a smile on your face. He was kind, very forgiving, and overall just great. Now, today is his 15th birthday, and I want to immortalize him with this video. So, the reason he passed so early is because he had something called muscular dystrophy. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He basically had a baby's muscles in a 14-year-old's body, and he couldn't grow new muscle tissue is like the reason why. I don't know, look it up. But that's just what I've learned about it in like 3 seconds of researching. So, again, I just want to immortalize him for everyone that knew him. And, yeah. I asked some people some questions, so you get to learn about him a little bit. And we get to learn about people's favorite memories with him. So, you get to learn how he was as a person if you never talked to him. And those who did answer my questions, I thank you. And, yeah. Rest in peace, Beckam.
Just through Discord when he applied as a staff member for Bananas.
Just Discord, SL, things like that, server.
So how I met Soup was the day I applied for a moderator. He did my interview, so he was at my interview, and when I got accepted, we started hanging out and having fun and talking all the time.
I never actually interacted with him before he joined the staff team, so I met him as soon as he became my mentee. I didn't actually know I'd be getting my mentee that day, because I think that day was when I actually got my mentor room, and as soon as he applied and he got accepted, they just gave him to me. But honestly, that was a blessing in disguise, because one of the brightest and most competent members I've ever met and had the pleasure of mentoring. Yeah.
I met him probably back in 2021 when I first started playing SL. Because he wasn't much active between like 2022 2023, but back in 2021 he was pretty active on the SL server, and we played a lot. It wasn't like we always worked together. It was more just we were friends and we worked together at some places and didn't work together at other places because we weren't really meant to work together. We played like we were good teammates.
I don't remember the specific date, but I know it was, I think, around, trying to think, it's been a long time. Let me see. I think it was December. I think it was around December. Well, not, yeah, I think it was around December-ish.
I can give you the exact date I met them. Our very first message we had was on July 23rd, 2022. I got him as a mentee, I think, July 20th. That was around 3 days before, because that day, the 23rd, was when he just sent me this text, which was hacker, mentor, best staff, God, and friend. I will not be able to attend because I'm out with my family. So, yeah, so our first message together, which was honestly fed into my ego a bit because of that statement. But yeah, I was July 20th, 2023 was the first day I ever interacted with him when he joined the staff team. Because prior to that, I'd never seen him on the SL server, but probably because around July, around that time, was when I started to consider resigning, which then I ultimately resigned in September of that year. So that's what happened. Yeah.
In like early 2022, I think, or like mid 2022. Let me look at my DMs. So yeah, a little like basically mid 2022 is when I met him. That's when he first DM'd me. But that's probably around when I met him.
That's fine.
I don't
Maybe a month.
remember, but I remember it was like, I think back when I was a senior mod, believe so, way back then, and like we clicked. I don't know anything more than that. We just started talking to each other.
But yeah, August, I think, of 2021 was when I first met Beckam.
So I first met him on SL. That was also when I first met him.
Oh man, he was great. It's really nice, thoughtful. He could spot out errors in my stuff whenever I said anything. He was just overall really cool dude. I just wish that they didn't take him away this early.
He was overall pretty chill back then. And yeah, he was a nice person. He was chill. He didn't get mad at people. He was down to do stuff usually.
I mean, he was chill, and he was also laid back, but he also liked to get things done too. I really think that sort of encapsulates who he was as a person.
Soup was a really nice person. He was a really good friend and quite a goofball, I'd say. Throughout like my time chatting with him, we just like send each other memes and stuff like that. Yeah, until like, yeah. We just talk about stuff, sometimes getting deep. And he was just a really nice person to talk to and just really funny.
Soup was very polite. He was nice. He would listen to other people's feelings. Sometimes when I would have a bad day, I would ask to talk to him, and he would talk to me about it. And then sometimes he would text me and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good." And he knows that I like to do art for a living, and he would ask how my art's going, and I would show him pictures, and he would compliment my art all the time. He's very sweet and kind. He's just a friendly guy to be around all the time. I would always hang out with him and play Valorant with him. And yeah, I just miss him. I miss being able to hear his voice. And yeah, and yeah.
Definitely laid back and just happy. Just he knew what was going to be coming and he embraced it.
Not that often in the past 2 months because he's been pretty inactive. But before that, when he was the staff game night director, I was the assistant director, and we worked together to do the staff game nights. That started when he wasn't unable to attend a staff game night, and I asked him if I could host it in Gmod. Because back then, if he couldn't make the staff game night, we just canceled it. And I don't even think he said yes. I think I just did it anyway. And a bunch of people joined, and it was a lot of fun. But after that, I was director, and then we worked together for like the next 10 staff game nights, and then random ADHD, like, oh, I forgot about staff game night existing. But yeah, we worked together pretty well with that. We planned it. We actually had a group chat. I can't remember who else was there. I think it was, oh, I don't remember. It was Scrap. Yeah, Scrap was there. Scrap was the other assistant. But we hosted many staff game nights, and
Before I started going AWOL, which was around, I guess, September-ish, I interact with him pretty much every day. Pretty much, yeah. But our DMs would say otherwise because they are pretty empty. But it's mostly in our mentee room, or just in staff chat. We would be talking, or in other group chats as well.
Unfortunately, I didn't really speak to him that often. Occasionally in DMs, and likely more in staff chat and whatnot. But not as often as some other people.
I'd say that as he approached his Monday, his activity started to drop off. Last time I talked to him was like a month ago, but before that we'd talk like at least once every other day. Something I'd say about that time. I'm just going through our messages. Yeah, we would talk really often. Yeah, 8:08 into 7. Yeah.
Back when I was like a junior moderator and a moderator, we used to talk a lot and all the time. But then I started becoming busy, and he started becoming, not active as much, but he was always still there and always still able to talk and hang out and play video games.
We usually it wasn't me or him instigating conversations to each other. It would be us two having a conversation with someone else, and then one of us joining into the conversation. But when we got into conversations, they were good, thoughtful conversations. They weren't people screaming at each other, being mean or each other. It was just thoughtful conversations that were cool.
I know some other staff members would do this, but I feel some severe bias towards Swoop, as in he was the one that I can tell that would always go above and beyond. He would always go out of his way to ask if there was a problem or anything. He would try to make things right. He was very competent. Yeah, just a great kid.
Kind of his embracing of death. I mean, he died at a very young age, something that most of us like don't even think about. Like, how old was he when he passed away?
14. His birthday is Monday.
It's baffling how a person who was at the age of 14 has to deal with the fact that, yes, I'm going to die before I reach 18. It's just a sad thing. And he definitely had to mature a lot faster and a lot younger than everyone that lives a normal life.
That he did that really stood out to me was that like he liked to include everyone, and he wanted to make sure that people could say what they wanted to say in discussions.
Something he did that stood out to me was, if I could say anything that stood out about him, was his personality. He was always energetic and ready to talk and have fun and play with everybody and laugh along. He was always hyper.
Just his ability to maintain a positive attitude despite his difficult circumstances. Like, and how he'd always talk to you like really kindly, even if he was upset, and he'd always be there for you.
I think my favorite memory of him was the most heartwarming one I have is when I congratulated him on Christmas when he got promoted to J-admin. Yeah, it was J-admin. And I can send you some screenshots of what that day was like. I sent him a congratulatory text of him getting promoted because I didn't see that because I was hanging out with my family. And he sends that this was probably the best message he's had for his Christmas, or best thing he got for Christmas, which was very heartwarming to me. And honestly, just it's probably the best memory I have with him.
And would you like to add anything else? Say anything?
Man, as you guys know, he was my mentee. He was already one of the brightest guys I knew. He was smart. He was very smart with what he wanted to do. He was efficient. He was really good with his work, and overall, as well, he was really nice guy. I remember when he first joined, and I got him as a mentee. He just had so many questions that I honestly didn't have answers to, but I did my best to answer them anyways. And he'd say thank you to every single one. He always lived up to my expectations. And even farther actually. I never actually thought that he'd make it to admin or anything like that, because he told me last year that he'd retire and stop where he is right now at JAdmin, but he said he'd keep on going. I knew he was in the hospital, but I never actually thought that he would, pass on. So that kind of hit me harder than most people, since he was probably the best person I knew on the staff team. But yeah, I can't really give. The more I try to think, the more I can't think, because it's a lot to take in and too much for me to think about right now. So I think my final thing is I'm not going to stop missing him. He's always going to have a special place in my heart. Just wish they didn't take him so soon,
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you, Hacker.
I thank you guys for making this as well. I really appreciate it that you guys would do this for Soup. I also feel that if you were here, he'd also appreciate the fact you guys are memorializing him in a video.
My favorite memory of him? I actually don't have a favorite memory. They were all good. There was no bad moments with him. He was pretty chill. He didn't get mad. Everything was fun with him. It's just sad to see him go. Yeah. I'm gonna say that's it for it, but it was just really heartbreaking to see the message when Derp called me and said it was urgent. But yeah, there was never like a low moment with Soup. All right.
My favorite memory of him, it's funny. My favorite memory with him was one day when we were playing Valorant. I totally ate shit in Valorant, and he called me dog shit. And we would always make fun of each other all the time. It's so. I just think generally being around him at all was all a good memory. For people that didn't really know Soup, I wish they could have met him, because he was just a great person, and he had a wonderful personality, and he was just so ready to just talk to anybody and getting to know people. And I wish that he could still be here with us today. And if I knew I could talk to him one more time, I would. I would take that chance, and I'll miss him a lot.
So back when I was staffing, Defender had started up a Minecraft server, and it was with a bunch of SCPs with a few factory mods, and like it was decently vanilla, but it was still had a good mix of other mods. joined in. Like there was SP facilities. Me and Soup had lived on a boat together, and we had explored a SCP facility. And that SCP facility that we found was 096. We both looked at them. It didn't end well. May Soup rest in peace.
One day I remember when we were chatting on Discord, we started like getting really deep and talking about his illness and things like that. So it's just the conversation was lighthearted despite how morbid it is. I just like that conversation really stood out to me because it was a really just an insightful conversation and probably one of my favorite memories with him. Because we talked for like an hour that day on Discord.
And
Soup was just an amazing person to be with. He was just a phenomenal friend all throughout. I'm really gonna miss him, and yeah, that's about it.
I can't think of anything specific, but he was a good staff. So really, anything he was doing as staff is a memory of him. May he rest in peace.
now, I would like to end this off with a few things. One, I'm sorry that I didn't edit this very well. I only had a few days to put this together. I would also like to, I'd like to thank Philly for helping me out recording the call sessions. And I would like to thank everyone who participated in the interviews. And I'm going to answer the questions myself now. I met Beckam while applying for staff. It was November of last year. I would describe him as the nicest person I had ever met and one of the most positive people I'd ever met. I'm not a very social person, so I don't really talk to people much. I have a very specific and very small group of friends that I talk with mostly, which is kind of why I'm not very active in this server. Something that stood out to me was how positive he was, even though he knew he was close to his end. And something that I really noticed is it takes an expiration date for people to live their life to the fullest, which kinda sucks. Like, I think you should just be nice to everyone because it's a small world and life is short. So, just be a positive person. And I can't really think of a favorite memory of him. Every time I was with him, I had a smile on my face. And I always had a good time. Now, I was never as mature as he was, and I probably never will be. So some of my humor wasn't as great as his. So he kind of got upset with me about that. But he was always forgiving. So I thank him for that. Rest in peace, Soup.